From richly natural woods to realistically textured stone, marble, mosaic and metallic effects, luxury vinyl tiles present unlimited possibilities for stunningly beautiful contemporary floor designs all around the house. But if you're going to have a happy, satisfied customer and avoid future problems, luxury vinyl tiles, like all resilient floor coverings, must be installed correctly. And that means observing these 10 key commandments. Simple enough, aren't they? Plan ahead and don't take shortcuts. Prepare all floors properly. Choose and use correctly the right adhesive. If you need help, ask for it. And, most important of all, condition the flooring properly. We'll get back to this crucial commandment in more detail soon, but first, let's plan the job and choose the products. Using the sales presenter and shade cards, discuss with the customer the design and color options available and agree on the choice of product and design. Waste is costly, so accurate measurement and calculation of a bill of quantities is your first step. Draw the shape of the room, measure all key dimensions, and calculate the overall floor area. Surveying the floor to spot any problems which might affect cost or timescales. Check for underfloor heating and that the subfloor is dry, clean, sound and smooth. When necessary, check for dampness using a hygrometer. At this stage, you also need to determine the materials required for subfloor preparation and which adhesives are to be used. Based on this, calculate the quantity of materials required, not forgetting subfloor preparation and adhesive, and prepare the customer quote. When placing your luxury vinyl tiles order, remember that bespoke designs are not available ex-stock, so allow extra time for delivery. The quality of the finished installation depends very much on correct preparation of the subfloor. The most common types you'll encounter are wood, concrete, sand and cement, and asphalt or bitumen. For timber floors, you should allow for the replacement of worn or broken boards and for the purchase of a suitable flexible underlayment, 1200 mm square sheets of 4 mm or 6 mm exterior grade WBP plywood and fixing staples or screw nails. Most smoothing compounds are unsuitable for timber bases because of the movement of the base, so ask the manufacturer which is the correct product for your specific application. Cementitious smoothing compounds should only be used to patch fill hollows. For concrete, sand and cement and asphalt or bitumen floors, cast in a suitable 3 mm thick smoothing compound and primer, again asking for the manufacturer's recommendations. Adhesives also require expert advice. Acrylic wet set types are suitable for underfloor heating, give a quick grab and relatively quick cure, and suit normal temperature applications. Acrylic pressure-sensitive adhesive gives instant grab and must be rolled to remove trowel marks. This type, which goes clear and has a very long open time, is also suitable for normal temperatures. Polyurethane and epoxy two-component adhesives are used where there's a risk of high subfloor temperatures and in wet areas which would cause acrylic types to fail. And now we return to numbers 3, 5, 7 and 9 in our 10 commandments for successful installation. Luxury vinyl tiles and adhesives must be conditioned correctly before installation. And we make no apology for repetition. Shortcuts at this stage will cause problems, the only remedy often being to uplift and relay the floor at your own expense. Conditioning means keeping the luxury vinyl tiles and adhesive on site at a constant temperature for 24 hours before installation, during installation, and for 24 hours afterwards. You must therefore ensure that you have access to the site of the job for this entire period. And since starting work is regarded by many as acceptance of site conditions, the rule must be no early access, no installation. Once the products arrive on site, check for any damage. Confirm that colours and quantities are correct and that the luxury vinyl tiles are from one batch. Tiles and adhesive should then be stored at a temperature between 18 degrees centigrade and 26 degrees centigrade, making sure that the conditioning and laying areas are at similar temperatures. The exact temperature is not as important as keeping the temperature constant, so for conservatories and similar areas it may be necessary to provide heating on cold nights and to close blinds or cover windows with opaque paper to prevent sunlight overwarming the room. As pre-installation conditioning takes place, assemble all your floor laying tools, safety mask, gloves and knee pads. Check your subfloor preparation materials and you're off. To prepare wooden floors, all loose boards must be firmly nailed to joists and any worn or broken boards replaced. Sand floors to remove high spots and fill any hollows and cracks with the flexible underlayment. When these points have been checked and the wooden floor made good, overlay the surface with 1200mm by 1200mm sheets of 4mm or 6mm exterior grade WBP plywood. Lay the sheets with staggered joints and a 1mm gap all round to allow for expansion. Fix the sheets using 18mm divergent staples or 14-gauge GKN 25mm screw nails. Fix at 100mm centres along the edge of each sheet with a fixing line 12mm from the edge, and then at 150mm centres across the entire area of the sheet. Perimeter fixings must be no more than 18mm from the board edges. Don't forget to prime the plywood base and allow sufficient drying time, typically around 15 to 20 minutes on a porous surface. For existing concrete bases, remove any contamination which would adversely affect adhesion. Then apply a minimum 3mm thick cementitious smoothing compound. Always ask the manufacturer's advice on which compound and primer to use. The use of a spiked roller will help prevent air bubbles, improving the final surface finish. Asphalt bitumen subfloors are normally impervious to moisture, and if they're continuous with the damp-proof membrane in the walls, they make an excellent base for resilient flooring, but only after a 3mm smoothing underlayment is applied. Again, follow the manufacturer's recommendations for compound and primer, and never apply resilient floors direct to a mastic asphalt subfloor. If you come across subfloors of a different type to the ones we've described, please contact us for advice on preparation. If in doubt, find out. Now, with a finished subfloor to work with, check out the main features of the room and determine the starting point which will get the best out of the floor design. Find the centre line in each direction. Then ensure there are no small or impractical cuts at the perimeter. Dry lay the floor to check any complicated patterns and use Pythagoras 3-4-5 to set right angles and mark the position of any borders. To fit borders, find the centre lines, check the border fit, and adjust as necessary. Apply a minimal amount of adhesive to allow borders and corners to be fitted, taking care not to apply more than can be installed in the open time of the adhesive. Fit the borders to chalk lines using a straight edge to check for minor amounts of runout. To install the center field, apply sufficient adhesive to the subfloor using a pre-wetted roller to eliminate trowel marks if the adhesive is pressure sensitive. Fit the main field, starting from the center and working to the border. Cut the infill tiles up to the border and remove any excess wet adhesive. To infill around the perimeter, start cutting from the center of each border piece, ensuring the bond is maintained. The final cuts must always be in the corners. Alternatively, for larger areas, the main field can be fitted and then a straight edge cut prior to the fitting of the border. As work proceeds, remove any traces of wet adhesive with a damp cloth and roll in each direction using a 68 kg floor covering roller. This will ensure good contact with the adhesive and eliminate any air bubbles. Make sure wet adhesive does not get onto the roller, as this will contaminate the floor surface. Should it be necessary to remove dried adhesive from the floor covering, use a proprietary solvent recommended by the adhesive manufacturer. Use sparingly and always spot test to ensure compatibility with the flooring. Remember that conditioning at a constant temperature must continue for 24 hours after you've completed the installation to keep the tiles at the correct size whilst the adhesive achieves its full bond strength. Depending on the level of soiling, the floor should now be wet mopped using an alkaline solution for heavy soiling or damp mopped with a neutral solution. Rinse with a slightly acid solution such as white vinegar and allow to dry. If the floor covering is in an area where excessive dust and grit might be walked in, 2 to 3 coats of polish applied in accordance with our instructions will provide protection. Otherwise, damp mopping should prove sufficient. You should, however, recommend regular maintenance to your customer to keep up the appearance of the floor. Ideally, the floor should be dust mopped daily to prevent dirt buildup. A diluted solution of floor maintainer should also be applied regularly to the cleaned floor in line with levels of traffic. Finally, let's look again at the 10 commandments for the successful installation of luxury vinyl tiles. 1. Plan well in advance. 2. Don't take shortcuts. 3. Condition the materials correctly. 4. Prepare subfloors correctly. 5. Condition the materials correctly. 6. Use a recommended adhesive. 7. Condition the materials correctly. 8. Apply adhesives as per recommendations. 9. Condition the materials correctly. 10. If in doubt, find out. For superb floors and satisfied customers, we urge you to observe these commandments faithfully.